Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Beyond the Bubbles, the podcast about comics, pop culture, and all that entails. I'm Terry Williams. The gentleman sitting next to me is Mr. Ben Dunn.
Hello.
Hello, sir. How are you? How was your week?
Oh, it was great. I had a great time in Lubbock at a convention, and just got back.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. The hot topic of this week. So for a little background about myself, been collecting comic books pretty much my entire life. Started getting way too many. Decided, hey, need to purge a few, get rid of some of these, and maybe flip those to make some extra money and buy some more books that I want for my collection. Started doing little shows here and there, Plano Trade Days, a few other things, and now it's kind of my full-time job. That's a little bit of background about me. You will learn more as we go. Keep a little secrets there. But the gentleman next to me, some of you may recognize, he's Mr. Ben Dunn, the co-founder of Antarctic Press, creator of Warrior Nun, creator of Ninja High School. Some new book that I'm really into is Tomorrow Girl. Some great things. I could go on, adjective after adjective, but I won't. I will let him speak for himself.
Well, thank you very much, Terry. Yes, my name has been Dunn. I did help start Antarctic Press back in 1985. We've been publishing continuously since then. And I also did, like you said, created Warrior Nun and Ninja High School, Tomorrow Girl, and as well as other titles. I've worked for Marvel and DC and Eternity Comics and First Comics and just a lot of comic book companies over the years. And now I'm here with you talking about pop culture and all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely. So I actually met you at Plano Trade Days at one of the shows that I was at. Our mutual friend Gabe introduced us, and just kind of thought, you know what? I got an idea for this podcast, and was like, hey, why not Ben?
Absolutely, yeah. I bet you. I said, now this is a guy I could really get to know better.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why we're here. That's who we are. And this week, the big topic is media, the movies. Spider-Man is out, Beyond the Spider-Verse, and The Flash. I would like to talk about The Flash because I've seen The Flash. I haven't seen the other one yet. I'm sorry. I know I'm behind, but I haven't.
Well, I haven't seen it either, so you're way ahead of me on that front.
So my experience with it was actually got to do a premiere of the movie.
Lucky.
Yeah, actually it was a cut that the normal audience didn't get to see. It was, I call it an unfinished version because there were some things that were dropped, and other things were added, that kind of thing. But it was, to me, it was really, 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 really amazing. I loved the movie. Also got to meet someone really special from the cast, which I will get to a little bit later. But yeah, it was for and you know me, I'm a Marvel guy through and through, and Independence. DC is kind of way down on my list, but this was a really, really, really well done movie in my opinion.
Wow.
I loved it.
Well, you mentioned you went to go see an early, quote, cut of the movie. Did you see the actual theatrical release as well?
Yes.
Okay, so you were able to compare the both?
Yes, I've seen both.
Which do you think is the superior one?
That's tough because I liked what they did with the original premiere that I saw. I liked some things in it. The actual cut version is much crisper, cleaner, so I liked it. But I leaned toward the first one I saw just because I think it was the hype had built up. It was just that thing of, oh my gosh, this is it. So, and it was my first premiere like that, so it was kind of all that rolled into one made a great experience.
Well, before we go, are we going to do any spoilers, for instance?
No spoilers. I won't do spoilers yet because I know it's only been out a couple of weeks or a week, and everybody
because I haven't seen it yet. So.
Right, so everybody hasn't seen it, so no spoilers. But yeah, it was really, really good. I liked, if you're familiar with the Flashpoint storyline, it was pretty true to that. I mean, they took some liberties, of course, but it was pretty true to that.
Well, I'll be honest. I haven't read the comic, but I did see the animated adaptation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was on HBO Max, and I watched it.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, I thought it was a very engaging story. I mean, it did show that, for those who haven't seen it, I don't want to try to spoil anything, but it does show that there's a set point in time that can't be changed.
Right.
And and the thing is that I think actually Marvel sort of did that in What If I recall. There was a Doctor Strange
Yes.
story where
Right.
the exact same thing
Yeah,
happened.
pretty much. Yes.
Fixed point in time.
Yeah, fixed point in
you
time.
know. So I did enjoy the animated version. It was a way different take on what I'm used to as far as DC. And it was very interesting. It's sort of like an alternate take. So you think the movie? Have you seen the animated version?
Yes.
Okay, so you have two things you can compare it to. So,
Right.
So compare that with the movie. Which do you think is the superior one?
I think the movie is superior. And the reason I think that is, one, I think they got it right with the casting of the characters. As far as the movie itself, I absolutely loved it. I loved the way, my favorite part of it was Supergirl. I thought she was well cast. I thought her story was, it
Was she
drew me
called
in.
Supergirl?
Yes, Kara Zor-El. She was introduced as, well, they were never. I can't spoil it, but they. It was really, yes. She's Kara Zor-El and Supergirl. The Kara Zor-El of the Supergirl that first debuted in Superman Batman #8, the Michael Turner cover, the great storyline was her first one. That's the Supergirl that she portrays, and she did an amazing job. A lot of the story was, it actually, I was sitting back kind of with arms crossed thinking, okay, impress me. And they did. They drew me in. The characters made me like them. And there's tons and tons of cameos. Tons of cameos. So that was another part that was really good. The ending, again, that's the ending. Really cool.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a pretty exciting movie now. But based on box office performance, it seems like a lot of people didn't go see it. I mean, do you think there's a reason why they didn't go see it, or because it sounds like it's like a fanboy's dream actually to see for this movie? It seems like, but yet the public at large didn't seem to identify with it.
I honestly do think there are a couple of reasons. One, a lot of people like me that have given up on the DC universe as far as movies were kind of like, another DC movie, great. And then I have friends, like I said, who just are like, it's DC, I don't care.
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I first saw the trailer, when it first started, I think some of it has to do with the marketing. My impression was that it seemed like they were relying heavily on nostalgia bait and not on the actual story. So as somebody who may not be familiar with the Flash or the backstory, it didn't say really much about what the story was about. So I mean, it could have been that, and I'm speculating here, is that the marketing was very done poorly, and that it didn't really draw an audience in to engage in the story. I mean, what stakes were? It didn't show any stakes. It didn't show any what's the reason for the Flash to even have a movie. I mean, what were it seemed to me like that, let's just show this and let's just show that and then let's just show this and then maybe people will be nostalgic for that and come to the movie based simply on member berries. And that's the impression I got, from the trailers I've seen, the marketing I've seen,
Right.
So I mean, if I had seen just the trailer, I could not tell you anything about the story.
Right.
Okay, I mean nothing about the story. So it unless I'm engaged with, wow, that sounds like a cool story, I may be turned off by the whole thing in general.
Right. And I think that's kind of what they did. The same thing happened, I think, with Black Adam. I think the trailers did it no justice. It told no story. It just showed bits and pieces of scenes and action. And you're like, okay, what's this really about? And if you're not familiar with the mythos, you're like, I don't know. Well, it's The Rock, but okay, he's
Yeah.
playing The Rock in a costume. So
Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help that most people don't know who Black Adam is.
right,
You know, I mean, let's face it. Outside of the diehard comic community, no one knows Adam from Adam, Adam from Black
Exactly,
Adam.
right.
You know, so
exactly.
but the thing that surprised me the most is that I think they failed to realize that Michael Keaton is a great actor. He
Mhm.
did Batman justice, you know, but that movie was back in '89. And that's what, over 24, 25 years ago,
Mhm.
you know, a long time. You know, so I question, what audience was this movie aimed at? I mean, it wasn't aimed at kids, okay, because it's way too dark, as far as I know, for that. And was it aimed at an older crowd? I mean, who may not even be interested in superheroes? I mean, what kind of crowd do you think it was trying to aim at?
I think they aimed at the comic book crowd. I really do. I think that's what they aimed at. I think they missed that mark a little bit with their marketing, but I think the movie is for guys like us that actually read the comics, enjoy the comics, know the characters. I think it was meant for us. It is the DC movie, I think, that made it a point to think it was really made for the fanboys. I really do. So I think
One more thing before, and so do you think there's a big enough audience in catering to, you know, diehard comic readers to justify this kind of movie?
I do, because once people see it, I think you don't have to be a fan of the mythos to enjoy this movie.
All right.
So enough about the movies. How was your weekend in Lubbock? You did a show out there. How'd it
Yes. I attended the West Texas Comic Con in Lubbock. It was a very long drive, about, you know, over 5 hours, you know. So I got there. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people. It was noticeably not heavy on foot traffic. I'm not sure whether that was because maybe the show wasn't promoted, or it was because maybe Lubbock just doesn't have the population base to support a large convention. Because this is the first time I've ever been there. I think I've been there like 10 years ago or something like that. So this is the first time I've been there in a long time. And but I did enjoy myself. I was a little surprised at the lack of all comic dealers.
Really?
Yes. Most of the vendors seem to be selling toys or anime products or something else. And I came across very few comic book vendors, which was a surprise to me.
Very.
So it was more of a anime and pop culture convention as opposed to a comic book convention, as opposed to Fan Expo, which I heard was extremely packed.
Yes, Fan Expo, I actually went all 3 days, was extremely packed. There were vendors everywhere, tons and tons of cosplayers, which was really cool. There were some amazing, amazing costumes, the design. One lady, I took a picture with her, came as Nebula. Her makeup, she said she started at makeup at 7 o'clock Saturday morning. She got there about 3:30. She said the makeup took her until 2. She did it all herself, but was absolutely amazing. Lots of guests. A few issues with some of the guest lines, that kind of thing. A lot of artists and creators, which was really cool. I met a couple of folks from Fair Square Comics, which I had no idea about. Really a cool couple of folks. Some good books, actually. I bought a couple from them just to support them, and was quite impressed with the reads, actually.
So you got a chance to walk the floor and see a lot of the dealers there?
Yeah, I went out and walked the floor.
Did you talk to a lot of them? What was the general consensus of the market right now as far as comics are concerned?
It's up and it's down. It kind of depends. Everybody's having the same issue. Right now, it seems like all the buyers are really there's two buyers. There's the buyers that want only the big key books, and then there's the buyers who want to finish their runs and are getting cheap books.
Yeah.
So
the collectors and the flippers.
So it's hit or miss with who you bring your books for. Like with me, I brought books that were for the collector, and I probably should have brought books. For the flipper, and I should have brought books for the collector. Yeah. So it's kind of that thing.
So do you think that the market is expanding or shrinking or staying about the same?
I think it's about the same right now, but I do see, I have been seeing more children. And by children, I mean kids that are, 17 or under that are walking around asking about books. And I had several kids actually ask me surprisingly about older books. And by older books, I mean, stuff from the Bronze Age, like Dazzler, for
That's
whatever
surprising.
reason. Yeah, it was kind of different, but it also made me happy that there's a future in the business for guys like you and your product.
Well, it's surprising because I wouldn't think they would be able to afford books like that, especially kids.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, a lot of those are still cheap. You can get, Dazzler outside of one and a couple of others for, $2 or $3. So it's
Well,
not
well,
like
that
it's
is cheap
inexpensive.
because
So it's
the
not an
average.
expensive book. So they can still, and that's basically what it was. It was a lot of bargain dives. Let me find dollar books, $2 books, books under $5, and that's kind of what I've been seeing lately. Is everybody's wanting that stuff, just especially the kids that are just getting into reading, just to read, because a lot of them just have voracious appetites. They just want to read. I want to know this character. I want to know this story. So let me find any Wolverine that I don't have and read it, even if it's out of sequence or whatever. I just want to read it.
Well, you bring up an interesting point about kids and comics. Is that now the average comic price is between $4 and $5, so it's no longer just an impulse buy. When you can buy a vintage comic for what you say $1, $2, maybe $3 at a piece, and the storytelling and the art is far superior, in what modern comics are putting out these days. And if you can get just an entertaining read for a $1 or $2 comic, that's and that's catered to them, then why wouldn't you want to pick that up as opposed to buying a new comic?
Absolutely. I completely agree. Like, I saw, like, there's a lot of just random books that I've seen that you can feel almost a full run in the dollar bins. Like Gunsmith Cats is one that comes to mind that wasn't a big popular book, but it's a cool
It's a very
read.
early manga, actually.
Yeah, it's a really cool read, and you can get the whole run. I think there's different volumes of it, but you can get first volume for like 20 issues for $30 or so. So it's hours of reading and fun.
That is not exactly a book aimed at kids.
No.
though.
I'm just giving that as an example of something that I've seen as a full run. Yeah, definitely not for kids.
Well, do you think that you think modern comics are too expensive?
I do. I do. I think modern comics are too expensive. I think that the big three, Marvel, DC, and Image, it's all about a money grab. And I think the better stories, the better art are with independents. At this point, 100%. I would much rather read something from, like I said, Fair Square Comics. Their books are great. They're a little more expensive, but they pretty much do.
Well, I think there's a difference between expensive and value. Okay.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
See, you can pay for something expensive, but you'll have good value.
Exactly.
So it'll last a long time to stand the test of time.
And I just think that even like with Tomorrow Girl, the stories are just better because guys like you, the independent, have no, and I don't really know what all is entailed. I just know that it seems like Marvel and DC and Image are pushing books out just to push books out to get more money, doing all these variant covers. All this thing all seems like a money grab, whereas you tend to seem like you actually still care about your characters.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
And,
that.
which is important
Yeah.
to guys like me that like a good story, and we can tell. And I don't think the industry really gets it. I mean, the big industry gets it, that readers are finicky and we're particular, and we can tell when something's rushed. Just like when we could tell the last season of Game of Thrones was rushed, we can tell that, oh, you're putting out all these amazing Spider-Man books because Spider-Man's hot and you're trying to get as much money as you can right now.
Well, I can sort of address that. Is that the creators who work for Marvel and DC? I'm not sure if this has changed at all recently because I haven't worked for them in literally the years. But the problem I see is that creators have no stake, in what they're creating. And if they have no stake, they're not going to give their best work. Because why should they give their best work when they're never going to own it? So if you think about it, all the best creations, well-known creations, your Wolverines, your Fantastic Fours, your Supermans, they're all created by artists who basically sold or gave their rights away to the corporations, who are now exploiting their creation and not giving them due compensation. So, as a creator, what's the reason for me to invest in giving my best, to a company that's not going to compensate me for what I've created? Now, when you go to independent creators, they all own their own material, so they have a vested interest in producing the best product that they can because they will be the one to benefit most from it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So hopefully that'll change down the line. I mean, if Marvel and DC were any type of, moral corporation, I'm not saying they're not immoral, but I'm just saying that if they had heart, they would justly compensate all their creators and say, we'll give you a piece of the pie because, you did create this for us. You've made us billions of dollars. The least we could do is give you health insurance or something.
Exactly.
Cool.
So back to, just want to touch on real quick the Flash movie, and I teased earlier that I'd gotten to meet someone or interview someone.
Ooh.
And I did.
Tell.
I got to interview Supergirl herself, Sasha Calle.
Wow.
She was absolutely 100% personable young lady. Couldn't be happier to have done the interview, to have gotten to know her a little bit, hear her story, and look to see what she's going to be doing. She is so talented. She made the role hers.
That's amazing.
It was really, really good. So why don't we say, let's go take a look at that interview real quick.
All right.
So I'm Terry with Beyond the Bubbles podcast, and I'm here with the star of The Flash, Supergirl, Sasha Calle.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm good. So I have to ask you, when you got this role, were you familiar with the mythos of Supergirl at all?
Yes. So I knew, I have a little brother that is my best friend, and we love superhero movies. I don't know, I feel like kids really love superheroes. So I grew up loving superheroes. I never really read comics. I thought they were really cool, but I hadn't really gotten there. But I've seen a lot of films. And then me and Jacob, my little brother, we watched the Arrowverse pretty much, like Supergirl, Flash, Arrow. We've seen, and we also saw just Supergirl the most, funny enough, and the Flash. Those were two that we watched kind of together, and that Supergirl intertwines with the Flash and the Arrowverse, and it was, so I knew so much about her already. It felt very serendipitous to get the role, and it felt like just written in the stars, really.
Nice. So, coming from your background in Young and the Restless, what's the big difference between the small screen and the big screen?
They're both very challenging in their own way. I had to learn 45 pages a day on the soap opera.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's like one take wonders. It's a job that is live theater but on television, really, and it's just a beast in itself, and so is making a movie like this. It's just a different beast, but there's a grand appreciation for both. And I like I said, I felt like it was written in the stars. So when I walked into this role, I knew that she felt very close to me, and I was ready.
Cool, very cool. So, along with that, I saw the movie, loved it.
Thank you.
It's like you own the role.
Thank you.
So, question,
Yeah.
did you have any input into the design of the costume?
No.
No.
So a lot of, I keep telling people, I'm like, I actually, before I knew I was playing Supergirl, so I did an audition, Fake Sides, character named Jana, Untitled Warner Brothers film, and then 2 weeks later, they were like, hey, you're being tested for this role. We don't know what the role is. It's a secret role, but it's the Flash movie. So it's a character in the Flash. And I signed a contract, and right before signing that contract to do the last audition, Andy called me and he was like, can you cut your hair for this? And I was like, yeah, I'll cut my hair. So I actually didn't know. I stepped into Supergirl. They already had the designs made, and the hair and the idea and the concept behind it. So I was just fortunate enough to become a part of it. I think that she is so utterly cool, and that suit is so cool.
It looks amazing. Is it comfortable?
They're not comfortable. I think apparently mine is the most comfortable that's kind of been created. So I was very fortunate. I don't know otherwise because that's the only suit I've ever been in. But her mobility was just a lot better because it's a suit that's, it's a mobility suit really. You can move. But there's a suit called the hero suit. And the hero suit, I have like 6 different suits and they're the same suit, but one is for wires, one is for a different set of wires, one is for stunts, one is for, and there's one that's called the hero suit and it is absolutely tight. I literally was just like, but it's so fun. I miss it all the time. I think the suit is so beautiful and they're really cool suits. Yeah.
So who inspired you, like actresses or that you've looked up to and said, that's who I want to pattern?
Yeah, so in 2017, when I graduated college, that year Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot came out. And I went and saw it. And she's, especially for this role, I saw that. And I knew in that moment that I wanted to do what she was doing. Awesome. And I went home and I had this little janky vision board and I cut a picture of her fighting like a stunty in a green screen and I put it on my board. And now I have her number and get to call her a friend really. And like that movie, and I tell her I fangirl over her all the time because it's a really surreal experience to watch a movie, to then cut a picture of her, put it on my board, and years later, be, alongside her, it's a wild experience.
So the fangirl thing, fangirling over her, how does it feel to know there's girls out there going to be fangirling over you?
The work that I do and the projects that I become a part of, I just hope for them to feel very close to me and authentic to who I am as well as a person. And hopefully people see themselves in me and are inspired by me in any way. That's the whole goal, right, is to release art into the world and that people can feel connected and seen and not lonely. And I hope that, one person, someone just feels seen and welcomed into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So when I found out I was getting to interview you, I did some research and I saw that you have a aspiring music career as well.
Yeah.
Is it hard to do? Is it a tough balance between the music and the acting?
No, not really. I've been doing music for as long as I can remember. Music actually brought me into acting, and it's like my greatest love, really. It's just something that I've been developing for so long that hopefully will come out very soon, but it's very personal to me. Not really, I think the universe knows what it's doing and I have to trust and be patient, and I just want to continue doing art that feels close to me and authentic, and when it's ready, it'll come out.
Right. I absolutely love your music, by the way.
Thank you.
I've listened, I'm like, it's great. Your voice is amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Seriously, it's
Thank
great.
you so much.
Last question. So how do you see your character, different, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Who would be Supergirl's superhero best friend?
Oh my God. Look, I would say, because I look up to Gal so much, I would say Wonder Woman would be a really cool bestie, but also Supergirl's bestie is also Batgirl. Yeah. So that's a really cool, yeah.
And so that was my interview with Supergirl.
Wow, she seems really amazing and really down to earth.
Yeah, she is. She's a special young lady, I think. I think the sky's the limit.
Do you think they would adapt that version of her to the comics?
If DC is smart, absolutely. I can see her storyline going on and on. As far as super people, she's my favorite. And I'm a Henry Cavill fan.
Well, what would you say to fans of the old Supergirl?
Sorry. This one's way better. She is Supergirl.
Yeah, well, you better be prepared for backlash.
Yeah,
man.
she owns Supergirl. I'm sorry. I will take all the backlash. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Well, what do you think
I'll take it all.
Then what do you think the chances are that she'll appear in the Gunverse?
If I was betting man, and I have no inside information, but if I was a betting man, I would say 90%. She
Really?
has to. She's that big of a character. Her character is that big. I think that she has to be involved.
Wow. High praise indeed.
Indeed. And so that's it for our first ever episode of Beyond the Bubbles, the podcast about comics, anime, pop culture, and the art. Thank you all for tuning in. If you did like what you hear, please hit that like, subscribe, follow us. Have Beyond the Bubbles on Twitter, Beyond the Bubbles on Facebook. Go there, like us, follow us. Let me know what you want to hear, what you want discussed, what you want to see, what you want to hear, and we'll be happy to discuss it for you.
Thank you very much for listening to our first episode. This has been, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I have my website, bendunncomics.com. And of course, you can also follow me on the Antarctic Press website as well.